Thousands in Baghdad are gathering to mourn the death of Iran's top military commander, Qassem Soleimani. A funeral procession was held for him this morning and for the commander of an Iraqi militia group also killed in that airstrike. Friday's attack, authorized by U.S. President Donald Trump, has escalated tensions between Iran and the United States. We're joined now for more on the story by Arash Azizi. He's a PhD candidate in New York University, and he joins me now from New York. Arash, thank you so much for your time. Let's talk about what your immediate reaction was when you heard the news.
Well, the immediate reaction of myself and many other Iranians and those who follow the region, I guess, is worry of a possibility of a war, possibility of further escalation. That could be a huge humanitarian crisis. That would be horrible for the region and for the world, but also a reflection on Soleimani's life and what kind of a man he was. I think it's sort of the two go hand in hand together, and he was responsible for war crimes. He was responsible for many deaths in the region. But just because I don't think progressive Iranians mourn him, it doesn't mean that we're not worried for the future of our region.
And presumably worried about your family. I understand you have family still in Iran. How concerned are they, and how concerned are you about them?
Of course, I'm very concerned for them. Most of my family are in Iran, and war is sometimes discussed as an abstraction. On Twitter, people joke about it, but really, Iranians a little older than me. I was born in the last months of the Iran-Iraq war, which really devastated our country in 1980s. And war is no joke. It would mean devastation and misery for all sides involved. So it makes me really worried. And as for the reaction to Soleimani's death, I think he was among the regime figures. He was one of the ones who really had popularity beyond the base of the regime. So a lot of people are mourning the death of what they see as a sort of war hero and a war commander.
So let's talk about the fact that what we are seeing are people mourning and taking to the streets in Baghdad, of course, where he was killed, not his country, though. You talk about your concerns for the region. Can we talk about this Iran-Iraq nexus and what the killing of Soleimani is stirring up?
Look, Soleimani was seen as a mythical figure at the head of a movement of sort of an Islamist revolutionaryism. He also had many allies across the region. So he was also seen as sort of an anti-American figure. He's sometimes cited as sort of a Shia figure, but this isn't actually a sectarian issue. If you look in Palestine, when there's very small Shia community, there's hardly any Shias in Palestine. So many Palestinians did mourn him as some sort of an anti-American figure. Of course, many Syrians, on the other hand, celebrated his death as they saw him as someone responsible for propping up the Assad regime. So he definitely was a controversial figure in that sense. But killing him in this way is also very chilling for those opposed to the American presence in the region. And even for those who are not particularly anti-American, is seen as a sort of a chilling intervention and almost sort of unprecedented attack on a man who was, after all, the second most powerful man in a sovereign state in the region.
As powerful and as dangerous as he was alive, is it possible that with the killing of him, he is a martyr that could be arguably more dangerous in death?
It's an interesting question, John. I mean, I think he definitely, the Iranian government will, I think the way I'll answer this is actually that the Iranian government will not try to politically prop itself up by using Soleimani's sort of what they call as martyrdom. And I think that's actually the immediate reaction they'll have, as opposed to sort of the severe revenge that they're promising. I doubt it will be very severe indeed, or directly against Americans. But how successful they'll be is something to see. I don't think they'll be successful in Iran. I think the people's grievances are too much for any nationalist strategy like that to work. And in other countries as well, to be honest, after this initial period is gone, there might be a sigh of relief, even among Soleimani's allies, to be honest, because while he was seen as a hero and he had this mythical figure, he also was a hard pusher. And I think a lot of allies, you'd be surprised, in Iraqi sort of Shia militias and in Lebanese Hezbollah, were not happy with the large, dominant, and almost Hollywood-esque presence that he had found. So I think there might actually be a surprising and secret sigh of relief.
We have time for just one more quick question, though. What is the potential jeopardy for the United States in taking this action?
I mean, this is brinksmanship of the highest order. But I think basically, unlike Mr. Trump, who seems to be, very reckless, Ayatollah Khamenei is 80 years old and he's been in the helm of power in Iran for almost 40 years. He did not get there by being childish or imprudent or reckless. I think, I think you might be surprised that we'll see much more caution and prudence coming from Tehran. But of course, this is the high game of brinksmanship, and Iran will have to retaliate. Now, how will America see that retaliation and that severe revenge that Iran has promised will determine the course of events in the next few months in a very dangerous year. As you know, presidential election years in the United States have always been dangerous. This is a irresponsible game of brinksmanship that really has put millions of people's lives in danger.